A key US ally had lashed out at a fellow Arab partner after Washington's funding cuts triggered fresh tensions. Explosive drones had slammed Kuwait's northern border posts, launched from across Iraqi territory in a brazen strike. Kuwait had condemned the attack as sinful and aggressive, pointing towards suspected Iran-linked militia involvement. Pro-Iran groups were seen signaling Washington after a high-profile visit by a senior Iranian military commander. Ismael Qaani had warned that any aggressor would regret actions following his recent Iraq visit. A US-allied Arab nation had come under attack for the first time since the Iran-USA ceasefire came into effect. In a sharp escalation, Kuwait had reported drone strikes that damaged 2 northern border posts on April 24. In an official statement on X, the Kuwaiti military had confirmed that 2 drones had crossed into its territory from Iraq. Kuwait Army statement read, and I quote, "This morning, 2 sites of the northern land border centers of the state of Kuwait were targeted in a sinful aggressive attack by 2 fiber-optic wire-guided explosive drones originating from the Republic of Iraq, resulting in material damage, with no human casualties recorded, praise be to God." The Ministry of Defense affirms that the competent authorities immediately began taking the necessary measures to deal with the incident. May God protect Kuwait and its people from all harm, under the wise leadership of His Highness the Emir of the country, the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. May God preserve and protect him, and His Highness the Crown Prince. May God preserve him, unquote. Authorities had described the incident as a criminal act of aggression carried out amid an already fragile ceasefire. No group had claimed responsibility, though speculation had pointed toward Iran-backed militias operating within Iraqi territory. Iraq had faced growing criticism for failing to prevent repeated cross-border attacks by armed factions based inside the country. Gulf nations had summoned Iraqi representatives to lodge protests, even after the ceasefire had been publicly announced. The Gulf Cooperation Council had condemned the attack in the strongest possible terms, according to regional media reports. Bahrain and Saudi Arabia had also issued strong statements, denouncing the drone strike on Kuwaiti border positions. Bahrain had expressed full solidarity with Kuwait, while Riyadh had urged Iraq to hold those responsible fully accountable. Meanwhile, Kuwait had moved ahead with plans to reopen its airspace to commercial airlines on April 24. Officials had stressed that continued vigilance remained essential as regional instability threatened to derail fragile peace efforts. The attack had come amid reports and unverified footage suggesting pro-Iran Iraqi militias had crossed into Iran recently. Amid a fragile US-Iran ceasefire, reports suggest Iraq may have quietly sent elements of its forces to support Tehran, raising questions over Baghdad's neutrality in the conflict. Social media videos appear to show Iran-affiliated Iraqi fighters deployed on the streets of Tehran, indicating that foreign militias could now be helping secure the Iranian capital. These developments come alongside reports that Iran has granted some of its commanders greater autonomy over Iraqi militias, loosening direct day-to-day control. According to reporting attributed to the AP, Tehran has allowed certain groups to carry out operations without prior approval from Iranian authorities. At the same time, many of these Iran-backed militias are still financed through the official Iraqi state budget, blurring the line between national forces and proxy networks. Most hardline factions are now said to operate under Iranian advisors using a decentralized command structure, making their chains of responsibility harder to trace and constrain. These statements come just days after reports of Ismael Qaani's visit to US-aligned Iraq, where he met political leaders and militia representatives to discuss the war and coordinate allied factions. Qaani first sat down with militia leaders, the men who command fighters on the ground, and then held separate talks with leaders of the Shiite Coordination Framework. The SCF, or Shiite Coordination Framework, is a powerful coalition of pro-Iran Shiite parties that currently forms the largest bloc in Iraq's parliament. Reports say Qaani's main mission was to hammer out an agreement on who the coalition should nominate as Iraq's next prime minister. Initially, the coordination framework leaned toward bringing back Nouri al-Maliki as prime minister, a figure long seen as close to Iran. In response, Donald Trump reportedly threatened that the US would cut off vital aid to Iraq if al-Maliki returned to the premiership. Iraqi media say the talks also focused heavily on the future of the militias that have become a permanent part of the country's security landscape. One idea on the table is to integrate these militias into official state security institutions, while keeping their political and armed wings formally separate. Another stated goal of Qaani's visit was to address regional de-escalation and its impact on Iraq, according to an account carried by AFP. An Iraqi source said Qaani was keen to ensure that security in Iraq does not deteriorate during these sensitive times for the wider region. After Qaani's visit, the US suspended dollar cash shipments to Iraq and froze parts of its security cooperation with the Iraqi military, according to officials cited in US media. The Wall Street Journal reported on April 21 that the move was intended to pressure Baghdad to rein in and curb the activities of Iran-backed militias operating in Iraq. U.S. Treasury Department officials blocked a cargo plane delivery of nearly $500 million in U.S. banknotes, halting a scheduled shipment of cash to Baghdad. These funds were proceeds from Iraqi oil sales held in accounts at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, which routinely disperses physical dollars to Iraq's central bank. This was the second such delay since the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran began on February 28, indicating a pattern of using dollar shipments as leverage. The move followed weeks of attacks by Iran-backed militias on U.S. facilities in Iraq in support of Tehran, including strikes on bases and diplomatic sites. In a statement on April 21, the Central Bank of Iraq said it was not short of U.S. currency, pushing back against reports of a dollar shortage. The bank said it had fulfilled all requests from banks and exchange companies for U.S. dollars, insisting that domestic demand for cash dollars was being met. The IRGC's Quds Force Chief Ismael Qaani issued a strong warning to the US and Israel on April 24, vowing that Iran and its allies would make any aggressor regret launching the war. Touting the unity of the so-called resistance front, Qaani said Iran's regional allies stand together and will respond collectively to continued US-Israeli attacks. Qaani's post on X read, quote, "The support of the resistance front and the fighters without borders in the war against the American Zionist enemy is the unity of the streets and the cohesion of the authorities. Those who say, we are all Iranians and revolutionaries, and with the iron unity of the nation and the state, with complete obedience to the supreme leader of the revolution. We will make the criminal aggressor regret it. One God, one leader, one nation, and one path. And that is the path of victory for Iran, dearer than life." Unquote. Qaani's remarks were in line with recent messages from Iran's top leadership, which have repeatedly stressed internal cohesion despite battlefield pressure. This includes President Masoud Pezeshkian, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakir Ghalibaf, and Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein Mohini Eg, who have all publicly rejected claims of divisions in Tehran. They issued a coordinated response to Donald Trump's comments about fractures in Iran's leadership, dismissing his remarks as propaganda. Mujtaba Khamenei stated that, due to unity among compatriots, a fracture has occurred in the enemy, arguing that cohesion in Iran has instead exposed weaknesses on the opposing side.